make sure my audio is working right here. Takes. I still have that delay. I tried to get out of it, and I tried to get out of it. It takes like 20 seconds. Okay, so the audio is working. All right. So let me move this over here to where I can see the chat. You know, this backroom shit. You know, because I'm like my cousin says, I'm a professional. What's up, geek? What's up, Miz? And what's up, Joey? Excuse me. Let me get everything set up here, so we're not farting around too long with all that BS. All right. I don't want to roll up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. All right. So, just so you know, now I was gonna have a young man that's a super good friend of mine be on the show today, but I've tried to message him, and because sometimes he has issues like I do, with sleeping. All right. So, if he's sleeping, maybe he's sick, maybe he forgot, whatever, sometimes stuff happens. Okay, so, me, I can run my mouth for hours. Back when I had this show called, and the show was called, what was the first time? I think it was the Geriatric Grouch. Because I've gone through a few names, just one or two. The Geriatric Grouch. And it's like the second or third show I did. And I talked for a while. I thought, okay, cool, like an hour and a half or so, whatever, And I got done with the show, and I went to talk to a friend about what she thought about the show, whatever. And I said something about, at least I kept it in 2 hours. She goes, no, you didn't. I said, well, how long did I talk? 3.5 hours. Because I'm Irish and I'm, I guess, whatever. So Irish, Irish descent, American. So I'm American, so mostly Irish. Got a little bit of, a fucking white. Hello. But I got a little bit of German and Scandinavian. That's fucking white. And German and Scandinavian, and then a little bit of Sicilian. My grandmother was Donatella Maria Luisa Spello. And then the rest is Armenian. Okay. I guess that came from my grandmother. She might have been around a time or two. And I'm not criticizing her because I have been myself. So, for anybody who might be new to the show, either watching live or, excuse me, watching it later, and that's fine. If you can't get to the show when it comes on, you want to watch it later, that's fine. You can leave a like, a comment, subscribe, comment down below, all that usual YouTube crap. I'm not going to go too long into that. You know how to do it. Okay, you've been on YouTube before. You know how to do it. I am a boomer trans woman. I'm a Celtic pagan. I am disabled with both physical and invisible disabilities. I'm bipolar 2, I'm ADHD, etc. Again, I'm not going to go into that, but I have a few. I got more letters in those than I do in my name. This is the Angry Wrench Speaks. I do speak my mind, okay? It is definitely from a leftist/socialist point of view. So if that's not your cup of tea, that's fine. You don't have to be here. You don't have to like or subscribe or whatever. But if you do like it, help me out a little bit. I also, as you probably guessed by a word or two in the beginning, and also this is a show for 18 plus. Because it's just easier for me to do that for YouTube. Because otherwise they'll come in, because of my language, and they'll change it to that anyway. And it's not like I say the word fuck every other 5 minutes or whatever, but it will come out on occasion. Fuck or shit or piss or, whatever. Alright, but I try not to do that all the time, I'm trying. My family says I'm very trying. Anyway, enough of that old joke. So, I described a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm a boomer. I am retired. In this fascist hellscape that I'm living in right now. And I'm not the only one, There's a lot of people suffering right now, and a lot of people are going to suffer further and further on down the line. But we're, next week or a week after next, I'm going to be doing a show on just politics in general. Today's going to be a little bit of political stuff, but it's going to be mostly focused on trans people, a little bit larger on queer people, and a little bit larger on the rest of America. Okay. But it's either next week or week after next on Sundays. I always do my live show on Sundays. I'm going to be focusing on politics. Okay, just so you know, and from a leftist bent, again, just so you know. You do not have to agree with me to put a comment in the comment section, after the show's over or whatever, or put a comment in the chat. I will let you know that if you come up with a bigoted point of view, or a classist point of view, or an ableist point of view, no, it's not going to happen. Not on my show. All right. But I've said this before with people. We can have different methods and the same goals. And that's why I'm a leftist, but I will vote Democrat. I usually vote Democrat. It's far better than the alternative. And I'm a bit strident, more than a lot of people. I usually have more, the kids say nowadays, I usually have more spoons than a lot of people. I'd like to channel my frustration and sometimes despair, but frustration and ennui and everything that's going around me into rage, and then use that on my show. I made a meme a while ago. It's on my Facebook, my personal one, and I believe I posted it on my Blue Sky too. That says it's a picture of the picture of Spider-Man holding back the bus from hitting the kid, and the bus is labeled those who can't speak up. The kid is labeled those who can't speak up. The bus is labeled society's bullshit, and Spider-Man is labeled my rage, and that's what I do the show for. I try not to speak for someone or in another marginalized group. I try not to speak over someone, especially, but I do try to speak in support of groups that I'm not in. And even aside from marginalized groups, you don't get you can call the poor marginalized. Okay, so I guess it's most of the people that I speak up for are marginalized in some way, shape, or form. That's it. We're not going to go hours and hours and hours on that. So there's a couple of things that I want to mention here first, and then I'm going to go into a little bit of a story about books, and then we're going to get into the meat of the show. Okay, so first of all, I've caught myself doing it on occasion, and I've noticed that there's a lot of Abe slang out there, which Abe is African American vernacular English, and it's not my lane, so to speak, not my bailiwick. And this isn't an excuse, but I have black people in my family. I have indigenous people in my family. I grew up around black and indigenous people, so there's a lot of language practice that I had to kind of unpack. Okay, and I'm still working on that. But I have, however, come up with a few phrases on my own. So maybe the MAGA mouth breathers can stop fucking their sisters long enough to care about somebody else. Okay. So that gives you the flavor of the show right there. All right. So first of all, I'll be talking about the books in this library every show. Okay. This will be in the beginning of every show until such time as you'll understand what I mean. Such time as it becomes easier to access the books in this library. Okay. So there's a hypothetical story. So once upon a time, which is how they always start out, there was a woman very unhappy in her life circumstances. She needed a divorce. She wanted nothing more than a book for her birthday. But she was with fetus, and her state didn't allow people with fetuses to buy books. So I think maybe this could have a different ending if she were to get help buying a book. So you can message me on Blue Sky. You can message me here. You can leave a thing in the chat. Okay, if you want to email me, my email is in the list below. It's Aaron Green Author, Ian and Green. It's my pen name. AaronGreenAuthor@gmail.com. You can message me there. Let me know if you want to help somebody get a book in their life. All right. You're gonna need to have some sort of verification so that I know that you want to help them get a book. Okay. And I don't need to know who they are necessarily, but I want to have some sort of verification so that I know that that what you want is real, etc. If you know someone who's in that situation, reach out to me. Let me know. If you want to help them find a book. I think most of the books I know are low cost, and even some of them you can check out for free. Okay? So, today's show is how queer people in your area are dealing with life. Now, like I said, I was going to have an interviewee on, but I've not been able to contact him. He works a different shift and whatever, so I understand stuff happens. I usually try to, and I did in this case to some extent, try to, coffee burp. Try to prepare for, as Dappy Duck used to say, just such a situation or just such a circumstance. Okay, so enough of that rambling. Let's get on with it. All right, so the first thing is, and all the links that I talk about, of the topics I talk about, will be in the pinned post, which I'll make within 2 or 3 minutes after the show ends. Okay. If I tell you that something is my opinion, strawberry cheesecake is ice cream is the best ice cream in the world, or Dragon's Milk Solera is the best ale in the world, that's my opinion. You're absolutely free to disagree with me. Okay, and we agree to disagree on those issues. But if I tell you something and I claim that it's fact, and hold on a second, I'm getting a message here. If I tell you something and I claim that it's fact, then I'm going to back my shit up. Okay? So, and also I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave all these links. I've been changing them back and forth. These are going to be the set of links for every episode that I have. And if occasionally I might do another episode on specifically on disability in America, or politics West versus politics East, or I do lots of topics. Most of this stuff is going to be about politics, but occasionally I've done shows about anal sex. I've done shows about gender versus orientation versus identity. All sorts of things. And I may repeat a few of those things if there's any interest in them. So Gareth is here. He says, I can't do a Scottish accent worth a crap, but I'm going to try. If someone's got your goat, then by all means go, "Hey pal." FYI, the phrase "got my goat" is used here because I recall you liking goats a lot. I love goats, baby goats. That's why I have the show, or the logo, Baby Goats Uplift Us All. Okay, I made that logo. So let's get back into this here. I have unfortunately, I have a track record of ignoring the chat to some extent because I get so mouthy about the show, and I'm going to try not to do that. Okay, so let me move this way over here so I can see the chat and see my showrunner and stuff. All right, so the first statement I want to make is human sex is not binary. Okay, and again, there's going to be links in the post. There's a lot of people who say, all we need to know about is ova or sperm. Okay, if you have ova, you're a woman, femme. If you have sperm, you're a male, female, or male, mask. Okay, except it doesn't work that way. There's a bunch of lists, or there's a bunch of sites, links in the description that go to different sites that tell you about, XY, XX, YY, XXY, whatever. Okay. I'm not going to get into the weeds for all of that. But there's a lot of politicians, especially politicians, clergy, some celebrities, for example, Martina Navratilova is I think she's the first woman who came out as bi and then lesbian. After that, the tennis player, quite a few years ago, probably most of you don't remember her, but a tennis player. She's a TERF. She can pull my home, kiss my ass. But these people, like I said, assert that they're men and women, and that's it. Last year's Supreme Court confirmation hearings, congressional representatives got upset at the nominee's refusal to define women, took it on themselves to define the term, and they came up with, congressional representatives said this, okay, they came up with the weaker sex, a mother, and I swear to God this is a direct quote, no tallywhacker. I heard that, I was like, what? Hold on a second here, I'm getting there, whatever. Okay, so, anyway, let's get back to this there. So, they arrest on a binary thing, and it's bad science. There's a meme going around on Facebook, I think, and it's probably other places as well, where it's a mask talking to a femme, and the femme says, there's more than two genders. And the mask says, no, there's not. Open up a science book, or open up a biology book, excuse me. So she opens up a biology book and she begins reading, and it talks about gametes and chromosomes and da da da. And he goes, "No, not an updated science book." Okay, it's kind of like, I saw another one. It's kind of like okay, if you do math, if you equate this to math, okay, and I'm not great at math, believe me, okay, but if you equate this to math, and you say 3 times 2 is 6, okay, and someone else says no, there's no way 3 times 2 can be 6. The only way you can combine 3 and 2 is if you make 3 plus 2 equals 5, or 3 minus 2 equals 1. 2 times 3 is unnatural, it's against God's law, we're not going to have it. That's the level of discourse that the people have who say the science doesn't support it. Okay? Give me a second here. My mouse got screwed up. Okay. The animal king is not one binary. Okay? Generally speaking, animals who produce ova are called female. Sperm are called male. If you see this... Okay, look, so probably 80 to 90% of the women that I talk with on Facebook, whether it's a page that I follow or just friends of mine, or I'm responding to somebody in a page or whatever, okay, if a guy comes out and the first thing he says, if the females did this, or if you females want that, or whatever, a lot of women, and myself included, will post Ferengi pictures, because that's what it is. Okay, females. Okay, female what? Female goats, female fish. I don't think there's female mushrooms. I think the mushrooms have like fungi have like all sorts of quote unquote sexes, and yet they'll say men and females. I mean, it's binary, but you could say men and women, okay, instead of men and female weasels, whatever. I'm not saying that sex doesn't matter, okay? Because there's a difference. Again, there's a difference between. Let's get into it. There's a difference between gender and sex and identity, okay? I remember watching a Phil Donahue show, which ages me now. I'm a boomer, but I remember watching the Phil Donahue talk show where they had a trans woman on who was a police captain and still remained a police captain after she transitioned, and they were having a relatively respectful questions. Okay, some of them are obviously wrong. Some of them had wrong ideas, but they at least they did present them in a respectful manner. And one guy stood up in the audience and he said, "If you're still sleeping with females," which he was, okay, "why did you have the surgery? Why did you change?" And she said, "Because this is very simple. It's not about who I sleep with. It's about who I am." Okay, you can have trans women like me who prefer masks, but doesn't matter. I'm omnisexual, which basically means hearts, not parts. I don't care what they have between their pants. Okay, if we get along, if we care enough about each other, we get to point to being intimate. That's good. I've been married twice and have 2 kids, so I've been around as far as that goes. Plus, doing the sex work earlier, like I mentioned. There's a lot of systems that overlap, okay, with the hormones and stuff. Women do have prostates. Okay, they're very, very tiny, but they do have them. Genetically, the clitoris, for those who can find it, and the penis are the same thing. They're just a little bit different size, a little bit different shape. One produces sperm, and one produces ova. Well, actually, the uterus produces ova, but still, they're basically the same. Okay. I don't want to get into the, because there's a lot of guys who still think that women produce babies solely from their vagina. That's where babies come from, right? From their vagina. It doesn't come from anywhere else. That if you put a tampon in, that you can't pee, and that the blood for the period comes out of the vagina. Okay. I remember a story of a senator's aide, okay, and they were in some sort of meeting. This is 3-4 years ago. They were in some sort of meeting, and she was at her time of the month on her period. Okay, so she didn't want to just get up and announce it, obviously. So she tried to squirm around for a while, and finally she texted the senator, while because he was listening to somebody talking, so he sees his phone, he answers a text, okay, sees a text, and she texted him. She said, I need to leave for a couple minutes. I need to go to the bathroom. And he said, well, can't you wait till the end? And there was like 10, 15 minutes left for the end of the meeting. And she said, no, I can't. I'm on my period. And he said, and I quote, can't you just squeeze your legs together and hold it? It's not like pee. Okay? Okay. And so this exhibits, this reveals the lack of sexual education, and the focus on sexual education needs to be towards the women in our society, not the men. Weaponized incompetence. It's okay if the men don't know anything about sex, because the women will teach them. There's been the trope for decades, okay, where you have a young guy and an older woman, and she's going to teach him the ropes, okay. This is, like I said, this is pervasive in our society, and it is a classic example of how not the Overton window, that's not the word I'm looking for. The impetus is shoved more towards men being not responsible for a lot of the things that happen in their lives, okay? They leave all that to the women. They leave all the labor to the women, emotional labor as well, okay? Women are the ones who predominantly are caregivers for children, okay? So a guy will say, oh, well, I babysit my kids this weekend, or I did dishes and I helped around the house. You leave there too. You're supposed to be grown, all right? So, if you're supposedly a grown adult, Garrett says, just clarify something here for someone who knows fuck all here, okay? Okay, go ahead, ask. But you're supposed to be an adult, okay? So you can do the dishes without being asked. You can take out the garbage without being asked. You can do laundry without being asked. Oh no, it's something I might have to do that might be women's work. Don't even get me started on that. So, and we're gonna go on from that because that's not what the show is about, although I could do a couple shows about that. So we're gonna go to the next portion of this, which is gender affirming care for youth. Now I know that there's like it drives me up a wall. There's like a 20-second gap between what I say and what I see in the chat. Okay, so I will return to it. That's why I use a showrunner, because I'm ADHD. So if I don't have a showrunner and I just go on what I remember, we'll be talking about trains or butterflies or something for the whole show, which might be fun, but it's not what you tuned in for. Okay, so this was posted a year ago, okay, but it's still valid, okay. The life-saving science behind gender-affirming care for youth. No, I like it. It's from Medical News Today, but here's my problem. It has life-saving in quotes, okay. It's not quotes. It is life-saving, all right, because I won't get into great details, but I've tried terminal self-harm, I don't know, half a dozen times in my life, and my first time I was 14. So this is life-saving. You can go as some famous people like Leela Acorn, etc. But if you don't know who she is, look her up. Leela, L-E-E-A-L-A, Acorn, A-C-O-R-N. Look her up. Excuse me. So it is life-saving for kids. They need to know that regardless of what any particular bigoted parents might think, or their neighbors, or their church, or their school, or whatever, that they are valid. There's nothing wrong with feeling how they feel. They're not being groomed, despite the right-wing horse crap, okay? So here's my thing about that. How many trans women in the last 30 years have been arrested for sexually assaulting somebody in a bathroom? I will wait. Do 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 do. Okay, I think there was one, and it was that the guy claimed to be a trans woman because he thought that would get him out of the, off the hook. How many Republican officials? How many Republican low-level, like county officials? State senators. How many clergy, right-wing fundamentalist clergy? Cops, lawyers, teachers, etc. have been not only arrested but convicted in that same 20 to 30 years. Hundreds. Okay, so who we got to be watching out for? If you're going to pick somebody that is more likely to commit sexual assault, I'll use that word instead of the G word. If you're going to use somebody to commit sexual assault against, worry about somebody trying to commit sexual assault against kids, you need to look, the predominant ones are white Republican cishet males. Just flat out. Those are the numbers. Gareth says that Senator Zaid was literally trying to prevent her own body from expelling blood and all other kinds of unneeded crap that her body produced, right? Yes, that's absolutely the case, okay? It's, let's say, let's leave aside the pain and the cause, whatever, okay? Let's say you cut yourself with a knife, okay? Or you get cut with a knife, whatever, okay? So you cut with a knife. You just clench your muscles and that'll stop that bleeding, right? No. Okay. And I'm not faulting people, I'm not faulting men who, in some respects, I'm not faulting men who know, who don't know, in a lot of respects, okay, because our society let them down, and other societies too, but they let them down. There's nothing wrong with teaching, when you go to sex ed, okay, it's generally, if it's taught at all in any of the schools, okay, it's generally girls going to this group, boys going to this group, and never the twain shall meet, okay. They need to have those same videos or whatever flipped around, all right, so that girls learn about boys and boys learn about girls. Now, a lot of times girls will learn about boys, okay, either, through reading books in the library, when they allow books, or talks from their mothers or whatever, okay. Boys learning about girls, yeah, okay. Joey says the blood must flow, you have to catch it in something. Yeah, just that's the case, okay. I've also seen followers of Andrew Tate talk about, or that type, okay, Kevin Samuels, who is by the way still dead, talk about how if you have a tampon, okay, not a pad but a tampon, you're no longer a virgin. What? Okay, so again, because of their lack of knowledge, and a lot of that does have to do with society. I'm not completely blaming men, because our patriarchy, our society lets them down, and a lot of people do not get it. The Andrew Tate followers, the Andrew Tateites, do not get it that patriarchy hurts men as well. I'd say slightly more for the women, slightly, but it does hurt men as well. Okay. Damages them in a lot of ways. Look at the results of male terminal self-harm. But I'm kind of getting off the mark here. Okay, so like I said, so this was last year to mark International Trans Day of Visibility. This is from Medical News Today. Spoke to several mental health officials and a prevention organization for queer people to see if science fully backs gender-affirming care for trans and non-binary youth. You had to ask. I mean, I'm sure they did it, for the article, but the information is out there. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of crappy information out there. There's a lot of BS, okay? But if you look at that, with the exception of very few sites, almost all of that bad information is from religious sites, is from political sites, is from healthnews.com or, whatever else, okay? It's not from, whoops, I just shut up. Oh, there it is. Okay, that'll work. It is not from established medical sites, okay? And I know that established is a bad word for some people, because otherwise, if it wasn't a bad word for them, people would have been wearing masks, people would have had better control and of their lives and of their circumstances, and over 1 million people would not have died of COVID in the height of the pandemic. And by the way, that's still going on. People die every day in America from COVID. Gareth says, in my mind, it's like Newton and gravity. Exactly, that's it. And, that shit will expel and drop anywhere. Yep, that's why they wear the pads and, the whatever. Okay. By the way, a lot of people don't know this, and I used to think I was surprised at it, but I'm not. Again, I'm not completely faulting men. Okay. But trans women have periods. We don't have the bleeding, obviously. We don't have the uterus. And not all of us do, and not all of us have the same symptoms. But a lot of us, because of the hormones that we take, it's when you're on hormones, have periods. Okay, I do myself. you know, the cramping, the bloating, the pain, etc. So there's a lot that people don't know about trans people. Okay, and I always like to stress the fact that, you know, there are trans men too. You know, my trans brothers, my trans masked brothers. Okay, and I'd like to give them the support as much as possible. I'm not trans masked. I can't speak for them. I won't speak over them, but I definitely will speak in support of them. All right. March 31st, which is coming up, okay, is International Trans Day of Visibility. It came political attention last year by the Don't Say Gay bill, or HB House Bill 1557, okay, which is in Florida. It barred the instruction and discussion around gender identity and sexuality in K through 3 classrooms. It doesn't happen in K through 3 classrooms. Just like with the whole, which one is it? CRT thing. Okay. Oh my God, CRT, it's horrible. They're teaching our kids. Except, no, they're not. First of all, there is no school in America that teaches CRT. CRT. Yeah, CRT. Okay, I was thinking CPR. There's no school in America that teaches CRT below collegiate level. From kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, no school in America teaches it. Period. And in college, it is only offered as an elective. You do not have to have it. I would take it, but you do not have to have it. Okay? So let's get back to this, because I tend to wander. Okay? Gender identity is essentially an individual's perception of having a specific gender which may not align with his or their birth sex. Now let's get into the differences between quote-unquote male, quote-unquote female, or a masc and femme, and non-binary. Okay? So first of all, let me tell you that I know not a whole lot about non-binary. I know, like, sort of the how would I say this? Sort of the second-hand view, okay? Because I'm not non-binary. I'm a binary trans woman. But I don't know that viewpoint, okay? So my take, again, not being non-binary, okay, is that some people who are non-binary feel femme some days, feel masc some days. Some people who are non-binary don't feel either at all, ever. Okay? Gender is a social construct. Okay, I've said that before. Many people have said that before. Gender is a social construct. Okay? So I feel female, period. Okay? My orientation has nothing to do with that. You know? My gender is what it's talking about. My sex is AMAB, which stands for assigned male at birth, or AFAB, assigned female at birth. Okay, usually because of genitals. And my genitals have been altered. Yay! You know, the right wing always says, "Oh, they've been mutilated." No, they've been mutilated. They just got surgery to bring my body to match my mind. It's pretty much that's it. Okay, so next one. How long have we been ranting and raving here? Let me see here. What time is it? ¿Qué hora es? Okay, so, you know, not too bad. It's probably going to be about an hour show, so about another 20 minutes or so. Okay, so the next one is, the headline says, Gender-affirming care saves lives and promotes HIV prevention. So we'll tackle the second one first. Okay, so gender-affirming care says that when trans women have access to gender-affirming health care, they are less likely to acquire HIV and less likely to die. The research indicates that trans women need access to more health care, such as programs that go beyond preventing and treating HIV, to also addressing the structural barriers that block them from living healthy and save lives. You know, you have, for example, like I said, I mentioned before, I'm a former sex worker. I still do it once in a while. Lesser now because I'm older, you know, whatever, that, you know, it is what it is. But also because I just don't feel as much of a need to do it anymore myself, you know, and just whatever. But a lot of, especially younger trans women, they get kicked out, you know. Joey says, I'm androgynous all the time, not every other non-binary person is. Absolutely. Geek says, gonna lurk, have a good one. All right, thank you, Geek. Thanks for stopping in. You know, so I am what? Oh, sorry, my phone. I am a binary trans woman, okay, former sex worker for the most part, and there are a lot of young people who are booted out of their homes because their parents said, "Oh no, you're not doing this here." Okay, for whatever reason, whether it's religion, usually it's religion based, but for whatever reason, okay, or they get so much guff in school that their parents have to homeschool them or whatever the reason. Okay, and so because of this, it's also harder for trans people, especially older trans women who come out later in life. Okay, I didn't come out until I was 50, 55. Okay, so they come out later in life, and the main reason, excuse me, coffee burp. The main reason I didn't come out until then was because of employment. I was afraid I was going to lose my job. And so finally, at the age of 55, in 2015, I said, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. If I get fired, I get fired. So I came out at work, and it was a slow process, with my appearance versus, everybody knew, but then with my appearance changed over time, okay. And I was the first one who came out at work. I worked at Walmart then, which dropped their DEI recently, so, to Walmart. But I came out at work. Like I said, it was a slow process. I started on hormones a year later, and I've been on hormones, no, excuse me, it's 2016, sorry. So I've been on hormones for 7 years, all right? Let me get back here. Okay, so when whether young or old, when they come out, they lose employment or they can't get employment, okay? So let's say you take your average person who was born assigned male, okay, and they're not on hormones yet, okay, but they feel the need that they have to present, as the femme that they are, fine, cool, dandy. So they dress, they do makeup or whatever, however they want to do it, okay, and they go into work. There's a term in the trans community, and I mean it's in the queer community too, but more focuses on the trans community, okay, called passing. And what that is passing as male or passing as female. In other words, somebody doesn't know that you're male, somebody doesn't know that you're female. In a lot of cases, I do pass, especially when I was working at Walmart. I mean, I cleaned the women's bathrooms. I made a deal with the other maintenance people, and I cleaned the women's bathroom, and they cleaned the guys. And never had once, in 9 months, never had a woman have a problem with it. And also partially that might be just because they didn't give a shit. They knew I was there to clean, and they were there to go to the bathroom. That was good enough. But when you don't have employment in America, guess what? You also don't have health insurance, almost. Unless you're retired or you're on, Medicaid or disability or something like that. You don't have health insurance. If you don't have health insurance, you're going to have problems with your health. Duh. Okay. And also, especially like with HIV prevention and etc. So that's where that comes from. All right. Let me skip back here a little bit. So with the employment and the healthcare. Okay. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recorded HIV incidents across the country as 12 cases per 100,000 people. Okay. Some of you have to do the math. I'm not good at math. Okay. But so it's 12 cases for 100,000 people. There's roughly 330 million people in America. So if somebody can do the math, let me know how many that is. I can do math on the calculator, but I don't do mental math well, and I don't want to distract myself with a calculator. However, as a rough approximation, it shows that trans women could be more than 40 times likely to acquire HIV compared to the general population. So more than 40 times. Okay. So if my math is in my head is crap, but if the chances are however many out of 100, okay, that's about 85 out of 100 chance for trans women, and like 3 for the rest of the population. And those any age 24 years or younger are 5 times as likely to die. What's up, Perrin? Gareth says, my dad worked as a janitor for Tesco's here in the UK. Guy cleaned everywhere without a problem for years. Yeah, and that can be too, and I also, Walmart never said this, that I had to do this, but I also had the personal, what's the word I'm looking for? Not standard so much, but the personal idea, concept, whatever, okay. Not sure what word to use. That if I were cleaning because generally what happens is, happened was I would be cleaning the bathroom. Woman would stick her head in and say, "Can I use the bathroom?" And I'd say, "Sure, I'm just cleaning." And they walk right past me and go use the stall because they're there to pee. I'm there to clean. Okay. Now, whether or not they knew that I was trans, or whether or not they knew that I was trans and didn't care, didn't matter. Okay. So, like I said, let's get back to the health thing here. Okay. That's just way too much. Okay. Again, I don't know the math, but that's way too much. And like I said, it's basically 85% chance, for example, of me if I were younger, 85% chance of getting HIV versus 3% chance for the general populace. And one of the reasons for that is there's a lot of trans women that go into sex work. Okay. And I could get into the whole thing of I'm going to use the T. I'm not going to use the word. I won't say the word, but it's a T slur for trans women. Okay. Porn. All right. Is rife with it. All the slang that comes from or against trans women that are specific to trans women. They may say slut or whore or whatever, but the specific to trans women and our bodies, the T word, or they'll say the S word or the C word. And by that I don't mean the C. See you next Tuesday. Okay. There's a specific C word for that. All those slang words come from porn. So, if somebody uses that word in your presence, I would ask them, where did you hear that word? Where did you hear that word? And I'm not saying, hashtag not all people, but a lot of them hear that word or see that word in their porn because, they have trans porn, okay? That's why a lot of trans women have the high incidence that they do of HIV because we're sex workers. And there's a lot of us that, take good care. Okay, I've never had an STD in my life of any type whatsoever because I take care of myself. I do practice safe sex, etc. Now, even with that, I still could have caught something, but I didn't. Okay, I reduced the chances as much as possible. Okay, especially when I started, HIV wasn't something you dealt with; it was a death sentence, and relatively quickly death sentence. And now we have changed the focus over the years of kind of sort of living with HIV as opposed to dying with HIV, and I think that's a good thing at least. There are even people who talk about how they can have sex with their partners if their partners don't have HIV, okay, or if they do, either way. But so these women are kicked out, okay, they have no place to go. They resort to sex work to get money to buy food or lodging or whatever. Okay. In my case, it was different because there were a couple incidences when I was younger, but other than that, in my case, it was different because I actually liked doing it, and I was doing it for a specific subset of the community. Okay, the BDSM community. So and I was paid fairly well. So. If it's a choice, okay, if it's a choice to do it, that's fine, okay, as long as they're safe, I want them to be safe, but if it's a choice to do it, that's fine. But if you have to do it because otherwise, you're trying to sleep in a snow bag in the snow, no, okay, and so that's because trans women generally, have a harder time getting health insurance, they have a harder time getting employment, they have a harder time getting housing, they have a harder time finding support systems. And not just now with the fascist hellscape that we're living in, but prior to that, a lot of people have said things like, to me over the years, like, there's Jazz Jennings, who was a young girl who came out as trans, okay, or Janet Mock, or RuPaul, who's not trans. Let me get started on RuPaul, but or Caitlyn Jenner, or whoever, okay, and just because they are in the news. And they may or may not, Caitlyn Jenner's rich and whatever. They may or may not have the money and the privilege of having the money and that insulation, that buffer, that Band-Aid from having the insulation that a poor person might not. Doesn't mean there isn't, the transphobic crap that comes along with it. For example, Jenner was heading to a CPAC conference, okay? I read this article. Jenner was heading to a CPAC conference, and she was crossing the hotel lobby. to go up the elevators, and go to CPAC. And some schmuck, I don't know who it was, jerk, asshole, dead named her and misgendered her. Okay, now I cannot stand Caitlyn Jenner. I don't like anything she stands for. I don't like her elitism. I don't like her class warfare. I don't like her greed. She's just an all-around shitty human being. But I will never dead name her, and I will never misgender her. Okay. And then the last. All right, where are you, you wee bastard? Okay. The last one we're going to go to is numbers. Okay, because like I said, all these things that I cite from or whatever are going to be in the description below, and there's going to be other stuff too. There's going to be a lot of resources. Okay, for people, resources for helping people with healthcare, resources for helping people with finding books for your library, and resources for other things that information you might want to pass along to someone else. Okay. A Gallup poll finds that almost 1 in 10 people in the United States identify as queer. Okay, so again, there's 330 million people in America. Okay, so that means that even on the low side, we'll do it a low ball. Okay, that means there are 30 million people in America who identify as queer. All right. Let me get back here a second. Okay, it says it's a record amount. The polling showed that 9.3% identified as queer, including 5.2% identified as bi, 1.4% as lesbian, and 1.3% as trans. Now, here's where I have a little bit of an issue with this, but I'm not completely blaming the pollsters. Okay, you can be trans and be lesbian. You can be trans and be heterosexual. You can be trans and be omnisexual, like I am, or pansexual. Okay. And the same for a gay person. Okay, you can be trans-mask, or and have the orientation of any one of those. Sorry, my ear itches. Have the orientation of any one of those. Okay. The first ones that I mentioned, the bi, the gay, the lesbians, whatever, those are orientations. That's orientation is who we are attracted to. Gender is who we are. Okay, to make it quite simple. And it says, finally, queer Americans have always been here, and we're not going anywhere. There are way too many of us to be ignored. More than 30 million people, 32, 33 million people. Okay, and the politicians who think they can turn the clock back on queer acceptance will fail, I hope. It is a beautiful thing that growing acceptance over the course of recent decades has allowed more and more people to show up as their authentic selves, and we should be working toward a future where everyone can be exactly who they are. Well, that's nice. Okay, we're gonna get political for a few minutes here. Okay, this is near the end of the show. Okay, what's up, Beastie Beast? You're coming in for the tail end. Okay, so that's nice. Okay, when they say we're getting better, that things are, and I'm not completely discrediting that until November last year, when things are getting better, etc. But clearly, obviously, that's not always the case, especially with a large portion of America. I don't want to say the majority, but a large portion of America. Excuse me, because in the last, you've been lurking? Cool. In the last election, okay, previously to like right near the end of the election, Trump was struggling to find money, struggling to find whatever, while Kamala, I think it was in the first 2 weeks, got like $200 million, from small-time donors and whatever, okay? And suddenly, Trump and the GOP are flush with money. Suddenly, Trump and the GOP are flush with money, and the GOP and Trump combined, okay, spent over $250 million in anti-trans attack ads in that election. More than all of the rest of their ads combined, okay? And it clearly, obviously, had some effect. Give me a second here. So this idea that, and I'm not saying that they're completely wrong. There has been a lot of acceptance, okay, and better to some extent. The problem is that even on the Democratic side, where people are like, oh, well, all the Democrats are cool, queer people, right? No, they're not, okay. You also have Democrats who are anti-choice, okay. You have Democrats who are anti-queer. You have Democrats who are this blows my mind, pro-queer, but anti-trans. Okay. The LGB movement, which can pull my home. That's Irish for bite my ass. You have, or kiss my ass, excuse me. You have, I'll get to that in a second, Beast. You have Senator Rafael Cruz, I refuse to use his anglicized name, who was running in Texas against Colin Allred, okay, black man. And, you know, he kind of fit the parameters of the Democratic Party. He's an up-and-coming, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Not celebrity, but politician presence, okay. Because he's still, you know, he's still in the, I think he's in the House. But, he, you know, he's still a politician, whatever, okay. Had some pull in Texas. He was doing kind of sort of okay. I never thought he was going to beat Ted, you know, Rafael. But, you know, Ted Cruz is spouting, obviously, anti-trans bigotry. You know, because that's the thing. You know, that's the wedge to use now. And so was Colin Allred, the Democratic opponent of Ted Cruz. Okay. So now, I have friends in Texas who, online friends, okay, who have had to go back to the DMV and have their driver's license, the gender on their driver's license is changed, okay, to assign male at birth. These are all trans women, to assign male at birth. Because if they pull the cop, if a cop pulls them over for, you know, for whatever, okay, they're driving and maybe they got a busted taillight or maybe they're just weaving erratically or whatever, okay, cop pulls them over, okay, and he sees, or she sees that their gender on the license doesn't appear to match what they present as, they can be arrested. It's up to the cop's discretion. They can be arrested and then have to prove. Okay, and so if your gender doesn't match your birth certificate, because Texas has never allowed that to my knowledge, okay, then you can be arrested. I'm not sure what the exact charge was. I was told, I think it's, you know, like driving under a false license or something along those lines. Okay, anyway, you know, and have an arrest record, have a jail record, maybe, you know, have a conviction record. One of my friends is younger. I mean, they're all three under 30, but one of my friends is younger. And to use the word we used before, okay, she 100%, almost 100% passes, like 99%. Like I'm around a lot of trans people. You know, even I can't tell all the time, okay, but I'm around a lot of trans people. I can usually tell about 90% of the time, okay. You can't with her, not with her voice, not with her height, not with her stature, not with her actions, nothing, okay. So if she gets that, okay, and then the cop sees that, and then sees male on the license, okay, first of all, obviously he's going to know she's trans, and then guess what? When she goes to jail in Texas, she goes into the male section of the jail. How well do you think she's going to fare? I think she's 19. How well do you think she's going to fare? Okay. B says, I'm sure Logan Paul got some of that money too because all of a sudden he cares about women's sports. Yeah, that's the other thing too, you know, with the boxer and the Olympics and whatever, okay. First of all, the boxer in the Olympics, I can't remember what her name was. Khalid? Something along those lines. Anyway, there was a KH involved in it, okay. And she was fighting this other woman, okay, and punched her. What's up, Glass Golf? I'm getting ready to wind the show down, but you're hidden in the last part here, okay? And that's all right. I like the fact that you showed up. So she was getting, she was fighting this woman, okay? A wee herbal remedy? Sweet. So she's fighting this other woman in the Olympics, and like she punched her in one punch, done. Not, you know, I don't think she knocked her out, but the woman was like, no, I'm done. Okay, she's crying, etc. Okay, yeah, there we go. Imaine Khalid, something like that. It might be Khalif without the E. I can't remember. Imaine something. Imaine. And come to find out, okay, so first of all, she's a cop. The woman who was punched and crying, she's a cop, so fuck her. Number one. But number two, you know my opinion on cops. Okay, now, okay. But number two, she was in this, you know, she was trained, she was a boxer, she was brought up, whatever, okay. And so the woman who punched her, Imaine, okay, Imani, I'll say Imani until I know otherwise. So Imani punched her. She was the one that they claimed was transgender, okay. Except that she was fighting for, who was it? It was not Cameroon. It was not Saudi Arabia, but it was somewhere in that region in Arabic, Morocco maybe? Somewhere in that region in Arabic, pretty much Arabic run country. Okay, there's no way in hell that they're going to put a trans woman in the Olympics and then have to be so-called tested, okay, or whatever, okay, and find out she's a trans woman, because then they could take her medal away. Then her former bosses, Algeria, thank you, Glasgow, her former bosses, the Russian-led boxing league, decided they were going to, claim that she'd failed the test. She'd failed a test, a sex test, a chromosome test or whatever. Okay. Actually, they didn't even say chromosome. They just said she failed the gender test. Okay. But yet they never said what gender test it was, when she failed it, or when she took it. And again, flat out bunch of horseshit. Okay. There are trans women. I was talking about this earlier on the Social Justice Alchemy, a show you should watch, by the way. Comes on before mine. There are trans women that, hold on a second. If I don't write down thoughts, I will never remember them. There are, yeah, and B says I'm still seeing random stories about that in my feed. There are trans women who were blocked from being in the women's category of chess tournaments. Because, apparently you either need big muscles to move those pieces around, or, it's oh my God, these poor little helpless defenseless women can't, play chess against this, big hulking brute of a trans woman, okay? And then also, Amy Schneider got a whole bunch of crap, death threats, even a few, okay? A lot of hate mail. She was a trans woman who went on Jeopardy and won, like, many days in a row. I don't remember how many, but many days in a row, okay? Battling against both male and female contestants. And so, of course, you can't have, those women, poor little helpless defenseless women going against this trans woman. Here's the thing. All transphobia, every single particle, every single atom, every single iota of it is based in misogyny. It is based in the idea that women are weak, women are useless, women are cowards, women are incapable of doing anything without those big, badass men to protect them, okay, and help them. All of that is based in, transphobia is based in all of that. Plus a fear that if a cishet male person is okay with a trans woman, even if he doesn't know her that well, maybe he works with her, or lives nearby, or sees her on the street, or whatever. If he's, he thinks in his head, not all of them, hashtag not all cishet males, but he thinks in his head that if he's okay with this trans woman, that somebody's going to question his sexuality, his gender, because that's the way the patriarchy tells them to think. Okay. Let's see. B says it, and it worked just like that staged assassination attempt. Yeah, that was a bunch of horse shit too. And then here's he's got the Band-Aid on his ear when it's not even. It's like it was taped. It's like a square, just a square taped to his ear. Clearly, first of all, no medical personnel did that. Okay, number one. Number two, it's taped to his ear. So what did the Trump cultists do? They wore a Band-Aid. When Donald Trump was accused of, and the pictures pretty much kind of sort of show it, him wearing a Depends, okay, and I'm not faulting someone for wearing a Depends if they're incontinent, okay, but my problem is not so much him wearing it as his followers wearing it as kind of a support. So you're wearing a diaper, that's what we'll call it, okay, you're wearing a diaper in support of a politician. You are cultists. You are nothing but cultists, okay? And, God forbid, the God I don't believe in, if something should happen and Trump should keel over from an aneurysm or a heart attack or whatever tomorrow, okay, aside from the fact that you got J.D. Vance as the next president, which is even worse as far as I'm concerned than Trump, okay, you have J.D. Vance coming in. Aside from that, the MAGA movement would fall apart because a lot of them can't stand J.D. Vance, and a lot of them actually are now pissed off at Trump. For the H-1B and whatever, okay, but a lot of them can't stand J.D. Vance, okay. On the other hand, a lot of them that don't like Trump do like J.D. Vance, okay. And I'm sure that, if something happened to Trump, and J.D. Vance becomes vice president, then you're still going to have lone scum, Elon Musk, backing him up financially, whatever. Because that's the whole idea, is to get to squeeze as much money as they can out of the U.S. Treasury, out of disability, out of Social Security, out of Medicare and Medicaid, out of the government programs, to get as much money as they can, because then what happens is, if they can do that, in the summer, Glasgow says, I am team whatever blank orange guy is. Yeah, okay. Blank's orange guy. So in the summer, they're going to try to, again, do the tax cuts, because that's when they end up, or that's when they stop. Okay, retire, I think is the word I'm looking for. There's another word I'm looking for. But that's when they end, okay, in the summer. So they're going to try to get as much money as they can, so that they can renew the tax cuts and say, oh, well, we're just renewing them, and, and there's money for it. No, okay. And then, there's a lot of people that have been pushing back to some extent, not enough, but to some extent, against this whole Doge thing, okay, which is a bunch of horse shit. It's basically the president's private watchdog / fuck the government organization, okay, that's fucking over the government, I should say, okay. Why did they have access to the Treasury computers? Okay, and here's another thing I say, okay. If I was one of the Treasury officials and they came in and said they had access to computers, no you don't. I'll wipe these motherfuckers. Unless you show me from Congress, which is their boss, not the president. He's not the boss of the Treasury Department. Unless you show me from Congress that you have authority, you can kiss my big white Irish ass. Would be in my case. Okay. There was a politician recently, I want to say it was the FEC chairwoman, I'm not sure, okay, who stepped down and resigned in protest of, Trump's, Trump was trying to fire her, okay, and she initially said, and she was right, no, you can't do that. Congress is the one who has to do that. Fine, cool, Danny, right? And then she stepped down. What the fuck are you doing? Okay? They're going to fire you. You're going to quit anyway. Okay? So it's not like, it's not like they lack money or whatever. Okay? You're going to quit anyway. Why the fuck can't you stay there and force them to force you out? Okay? Okay, I'll talk to you later, Beast. But why can't you force them to force you out? All right. It is way too few. Excuse me, it was actually the word I was going to use. Way too few officials in our government, the supposed Democrats, the supposed leftists, the supposed nice people. All right, Beast. I will talk to you. The supposed leftists who are, supporting the people and trying to fight against this, who don't do jack fucking shit. Okay? There are some Democrats who do, and it's not just AOC and Jasmine Crockett, who I both love to death. And Jasmine Crockett, when she gets fired, I mean, AOC does too. Katie Porter does too. But Jasmine Crockett, when she gets fired up, okay, it is poetry in motion, a beauty to watch. Okay. Besides the bad body bleach blonde, beach body, or whatever the heck it was that she said about Marjorie Taylor Greene was hilarious. Or as I call her, Major Trader Green, and then Lauren Boebert is Lauren Bobblehead, etc. We need Democrats, because there are really no leftists in America, in the power structure of American politics. There aren't any. Period. The Republicans might claim it, like Trump said. He said literally, I'll talk to you later too, Glasgow. Literally in the one sentence, okay, he called Kamala Harris let me get the order right, a Marxist, socialist, democratic, communist. The fuck? But those, those are bad words. Those are bad words. Those are bad words. And his cultists have no idea. He doesn't either. But those cultists have no idea what those words mean. He doesn't really know either. He can't give you a clear definition. Okay. But he knows that he thinks those are bad, and he can call the Democrats bad. Okay, and then his cultists will go, oh, well, he thinks that those words are bad, therefore anybody he calls that is also bad, and that's where he gets his power structure to continue. Okay, so it is endemic upon the Democrats, not the Republicans, and not the people, not the low, the day-to-day schmucks like me, or somebody who's working in the Democratic headquarters here in town or whatever. Okay, he's on the phone banks. It's not just endemic on us to push to get grassroots organizations going to whatever. Democrats need to get a damn spine. That's just what it is. They need to get a spine. They need to get up off their ass, and they need to push back against this bullshit. And there are Democrats who have even said, maybe not in these exact words, but the impact, the effect has even been, well, we need to work with them, okay? And if we work with the Republicans, then we can kind of control them. No, the fuck you can't. And you know what? It's the same fucking thing that the German politician said about Hitler after he came back to power the second time. And I know a lot of people called Bush Hitler, and a lot of people called Obama, both Bushes Hitler, actually. And a lot of people called Obama Hitler, and a lot of people called Clinton Hitler. But I did a show last week, I think it was. Either last week or week before last. I think it was last week. On the points of fascism and where it hits in America. Okay. And so, to get back to the original theme, okay, you have those points that are being used, all those points, all the political points I talked about that are being used to target trans people. We have targets on our backs, just flat out. We not only have to if we change the birth certificate, we have to change it back. If we change the driver's license, we have to change it back. We can't if we are trans and let's say our driver's license says female, but our birth certificate says male, and we go to get a passport. We can't get that passport in female. It has to be male, and that driver's license has to be changed. Okay. Other sorts of things like that. All sorts of crap like that. So, let me get something up here. And we're getting ready to shut the show down. Alright, so let me see. Okay, so remember my story about the woman who was unhappy with her life, about how she needed a book, but her state wouldn't allow people with fetuses to get those books, to buy those books, to have those books, and that she might need a little help to get those books. I know of a place where you can... I hate my computer. I hate my computer. I know of a place where you can get those books. Okay? I know of a place where you can get those books either at low cost or sometimes for free. So if you know somebody, if you need a book, or you know somebody who needs a book, okay, or you want to gift somebody a book, you can contact me. Either hit me up on Blue Sky in my DMs, or email me at the email below, aarongreenauthor@gmail.com, and let me know, and we'll work together and see if we can get that going. Okay. So, where the heck is my OBS? OBS. That's my software, by the way. It's OBS, but I call it OBS. Okay. So, where am I? Okay. Scrolling over the bounding lane. We go way past the links here. All right. So, there you go. I hope I gave you some information that you may not have had before, or maybe it's a different format for it. Maybe something you might want to share to other people. That's up to you. Remember, do what you can, when you want to. Okay. Don't feel like if and a lot of people push back. Okay, I'm one of the ones who, at least online, push back. And there's nothing wrong with doing it just online. I'm disabled. There's a lot of stuff I can't do. Okay, so I do what I can. All right. So do what you can, when you want to. We can't do everything by ourselves. There's just no way. Okay. If I had 12,000 people watching me, okay, it'd be kind of weird and be kind of I'd have to have some mods. Professional mods or whatever, but if I had 12,000 people watching me, okay, it doesn't matter. It's only 12,000 people. There's 330 million people in this country. I'm not, let's say there's 150 million voting adults, okay, eligible to vote, etc. Okay, I'm not even going to reach a tiny percentage of that, okay, but I'm doing what I can, okay, and it isn't me, and it isn't person B and it isn't person C and it isn't person D, but it's all of us together working for that. Okay, working for a future that you want. And remember, it's up to you. You spend your spoons where you can. You know, if you think it, you know, that you want to do something, but you know, you don't have the capacity, the safety to speak like I'm doing online. Okay, do something else. Get a pseudonym. I wouldn't advise going on Twitter, but get a pseudonym. Go on Blue Sky or Facebook or whatever. Okay, start a Facebook page. And I'll tell you, here's a way you can start a Facebook page and kind of get around a little bit. Okay, so when you do a Facebook page, okay, hold on a second here, make sure I got the right thing. Okay, when you do a Facebook page, they always tell you, you know, you have to call in, you know, you have to link it to a number, right? And I don't remember how many it is, but I don't remember it's 2 or more. You have to two or less, excuse me. But they'll tell you, you know, after a while, you know, they'll say, well, you know, you can't do this because you got too many Facebook pages connected to this number. There's a way to get around that. So instead of adding a Facebook page, starting a new Facebook page, okay, account, whatever, okay, on your computer, do it on your phone, because that way they'll ask you if you want to connect it to a phone or not, and you don't have to. You know, if you're using Gmail, okay, they'll ask you to connect to a phone, and I just say no, and there I go. And then I can go back to my computer and work on my page like normal. Joey says, later peeps, hydrate and medicate. Absolutely, be good to each other. Community building is hard. So remember, all the YouTube stuff, there will be a link for my link tree where it's got all my books and all that other crap, okay. Leave a like, leave a comment in the comment section below. Subscribe if you haven't already. I appreciate all of that. One or all of it, whatever. Cool. I appreciate that. You can go to my Blue Sky and follow me there, because I also do more updated stuff. You know, I don't post on YouTube what I'm going to post next week, but I do that every day on Blue Sky. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry, coffee burp. So like, notification bell, subscribe, Blue Sky, whatever. So where the heck is my OBS? I hate my computer. I hate my computer. I hate my computer. The rest of it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you for showing up.